Oi, punters. I think Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is actually really scared. And you know what? I think he should be. Take a look at this. While you're there, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Now, take a look at this. What can make our Prime Minister say this?
The risk of blanket bans in advertising in the wagering space is that we run the risk of driving Australian consumers into the illegal offshore providers, which are rife online already, and they offer no consumer protections.
The internet means that people can gamble offshore. That means there are no... much more difficult to put restrictions on.
So that's David Pocock there. He's hammering this. Good on him. But Albo is parroting the line from the gambling lobby. Now, I released a video on Tuesday about this topic, but I missed one key crucial component that I'm playing catch up here as well. As I established in the other video, gambling's a massive problem, especially in children. Everyone's on board with fixing it. Experts are on board with fixing it. Legislation's there. Labor have backed off and is passing watered down piss weak legislation to benefit clearly the gambling lobby. But like I said, I missed one crucial component that would make the Prime Minister parrot this bloody lobby group. Bill Shorten on Q&A is about to fill you in on what's really going on in the Australian government and who they are really afraid of and who they are trying to protect. Watch.
The free-to-air media is under massive attack by Facebook. It's been completely disrupted by the internet. And we got ourselves in this wicked situation where now some of the free-to-air media need gambling ad revenue at any time in order just to stay afloat.
Okay, so he's dropped a few things there. A lot of it not too unreasonable, but that is who Albo is really afraid of. And he bloody well should be. He is afraid of the free-to-air media. Who's the free-to-air media? Well, if you're in Australia, it's bloody Rupert Murdoch, Kerry Stokes, Packer. It's all these billionaires who have controlled our methods of communication for decades. They have set the narratives. They have told us what to think about. They have shown us what is news. And now Facebook and Google are rolling in saying we are bigger, more powerful, and we are going to destroy you. And in the long run, that is going to happen. But these institutions still hold a hell of a lot of power, and you can see it play out right here. How's this linked to the whole gambling situation? Well, a couple of years ago, Murdoch's Foxtel and Stokes' Seven West Media jointly acquired AFL media rights from 2025 to 2031. What's huge in buying sports rights? Money from gambling. Here's the real clincher. This is Tim Costello saying this. As I said, it's particularly about Kerry Stokes in Western Australia. He owns the only paper in the state that's Seven, and Labor are terrified, thinking that the election will be won or lost in the West. And you know what? They should be. Because it was Western Australia that delivered Labor the majority government. They were headed for a minority government. And so if Albo pisses off Kerry Stokes and these other billionaires, might end up in a minority government. Which obviously they want to avoid. Albo and Shorten, they've bought this line that corporate media want them to buy. They're saying, we need this revenue to survive. Now, is that even true? Thanks to some bloody great journalism from The Conversation here, it actually answers that question. Bill Shorten said, you just saw it, an outright ban on gambling advertisement would be disastrous for free-to-air TV. Would it? In 2023, the top category, which is retail, accounted for $2.56 billion in ad spend. Gambling, in contrast, represents $239 million, less than a tenth of the $2.56 billion. Looking on shaky ground now. The top spend is Harvey Norman. Free-to-air TV would struggle more if Jerry Harvey decided to advertise on Facebook than rather on TV. So if we're just looking at one channel 7, one channel, if the entire gambling industry put all its money, all its $275 million to Kerry Stokes himself, that would only be 20% of his annual turnover. Kerry Stokes isn't getting all that money. It's split between the other billionaires that are raking in the cash of propagandizing us. And if all that spend went on TV ads, Channel 7 holds 38.5% of share in the TV ad rev, it would only represent around 7% of its annual turnover. Now, far be it for me to poo-hoo 7% of $1.5 billion, but here I am, Poo-hooing, tut-tut. But this is just what corporations do every single time they lose even 1% of their profit margin. It is easier for them to play the ref, cry bloody murder, oh, we don't want this to happen, this regulation will hurt us. Of course it will, because the damage that's being done to society is greater than your bloody profit revenue. But it's easier and cheaper for them to just play the ref and stop this rule from coming in than adapting to the loss of any percent of revenue. So Bill Shorten has bought this overstated, this is going to end free-to-air media. It's going to contribute to its demise in a small way, but it's not the key reason. But Bill Shorten's not completely wrong on the position he sits in.
Well, you know what? I still believe in having a free-to-air media sector, and until I can be confident we're not going to kill all of them, because the problem is if you kill free-to-air media, what's going to replace it? And okay, I'm just going to say it. I don't want Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook in charge of my news feeds. He's not even paying the Australian media for what they report.
There we can agree. I don't want Mark Zuckerberg in charge either. He has a fair point. Facebook and Google are coming in and they are destroying legacy media. Legacy, that's a nice way of saying it. Corporate media, corporate funded billionaire media, which we've just gotten used to. Every channel on TV is run by a billionaire. They don't do it for the money that the business itself offers. They do it for their side businesses that they want to keep afloat. Kerry Stokes big into mining, right? Who do you think loves running those ads on keeping mining going? Because his other business is making heaps of money from mining, and he wants to also stop the government from charging him for the resources he steals. Sorry, I mean takes. Sorry, I mean we give him. Let's look at what Bill Shorten's talking about here. So tech giants claiming as little as 5% of their revenue is taxable. This is laughable. Look at this. Apple, $9 billion, said they only had $450 million in taxable revenue. That's a ratio of 4.9%. Come on. Oh, you can't make this stuff up, and we just let it happen. Here's the villain they're talking about. Facebook over $1 billion in revenue, only $100 million. That's 8.8%. And then obviously they're talking about Google. Google, you're all right. YouTube, you're great. You never do this sort of stuff. Whoa, taxable income percent of 18%. Wow, good on you. Don't shadow ban me. Let's focus back on Facebook. So these companies roll in and steal. They make 60 cents from every ad dollar spent online. They come into Australia, just pillage it for all the money, take it away tax-free. But what they really do on their way is they steal Rupert Murdoch's lunch, steal Kerry Stokes' lunch, and shove their faces in the dirt and say, this is our money. You like that? You like that? And no, the billionaires do not like that. So you know what they do? They go whinging to mum in the house, the referee. Meh. These bigger bullies than us took our money. You need to make them go give it back. That's essentially what happened, which leads us to what Mummy ScoMo did for his billionaire pals. The Digital Media Bargaining Code. Or really, what it actually is, as it's articulated by Michael West Journo, Kim Wingery, it is a protection racket. Mummy and Daddy have come in to protect their precious little darling billionaire boy from losing some millions.
When other countries around the world take on Facebook like we have, then I'll cop the lecture. But
That's the
I'm
story.
sorry we're not the ideal, but we're at least having the argument.
I'm basking in the thanks for the media reform laws that we did with Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, so the Liberal Party's basking in the thanks for the media reform laws. The Labor Party are saying, we're taking on big tech. But let's go back to what the Digital Media Bargaining Code is and who they're standing up for in this piece of legislation. As far as I understand it, fact checks welcome, citations necessary in the comments below, but this digital media bargaining code requires Facebook and Google to negotiate with legacy media companies, right? Small journalists and independent journalists are not on that list. Most of the benefit goes to the Murdoch, Kerry Stokes billionaires of the world. And they need to negotiate and pay the money. And the only reason they're doing that is because the Australian government has gone into bat for these legacy media companies saying, you need to pay them money. Now, here is the catch where we Aussie punters get absolutely scammed. Yes, Facebook are taking all this ad rev. Yes, they're taking the money offshore and they're not paying tax. And Murdoch is pissed about that. And Murdoch could advocate for these companies to be paying their fair share of taxes and advocate for the government to get stronger on actually paying taxation, which we would all benefit from. No. Murdoch would rather, and what he did was push the Morrison government into developing the Digital Media Bargaining Code. As it makes Facebook pay directly legacy media, it cuts we the punters out of it. That payment that they make, guess what? It's a tax deduction. They make the payment, they go to their taxes and said, no, we paid Murdoch $8 million, $100 million, whatever the money is, and we deduct that from the taxes we owe. So that tiny little 100 million out of a billion, right, that you see, that tax payable, that gets reduced by the amount that they paid directly to Rupert Murdoch, Kerry Stokes, and his cronies. Somehow, these old-ass billionaires convinced and controlled our government to force the world's biggest tech companies to pay them protection money. Because you know what the solution is? The solution is battle Facebook and Google and Apple and Microsoft to pay their taxes, take all that billions in tax revenue that they owe you, and then give money to independent journalists, good journalism, give grants to the journalism you want to see. Don't just give it to corporate media. Murdoch isn't investing in more journalists in local media that we desperately need to say what's going on locally. No, Murdoch's putting that into his friggin' pocket. He's not investing in more journalism. He knows his days are numbered, right? He's just getting as much money out of this as humanly possible. And he's got the government and so many people around the world thinking Australia's standing up to Facebook and Google. Kind of. Australia, Bill Shorten, Albo, Scott Morrison, they're standing up to Facebook and Google. But not for Australians, for Australian billionaires. That's what's going on. So this is just a protection racket. And obviously, Facebook has recently just said, I'm not going to pay this protection racket money. Come at me, Australian government. So yeah, the Australian government is in a tough spot. And Albo is afraid. He is afraid of Australia's legacy corporate billionaires. And you know what? I get it. Their argument they would make to me and ye the punters watching, they would say, listen, we are doing far more than the Liberal Party ever would do on this issue. We are at least trying to get some kind of ban passed, or we're wrestling with it, and you're not going to be happy with the legislation, they're not going to be happy with the legislation, but at least we get something. And they'd probably say, if we did what you want, Punter Conrad, we would be out of office next year and you'd be stuck with nothing. So do you want something or do you want nothing? And I think that's the calculation Albo is making, because he is afraid of corporate media, Rupert Murdoch, Kerry Stokes, because as much as this medium is dying, it still has immense influence over a large portion of the Australian population. And until punters wake up and stop buying the BS sold to us by these corporate billionaires, Albo will have to keep hedging his bets so that he can stay in power to do just a little bit of good rather than nothing. That's my theory. By all means, fact checks welcome, citations necessary in the comments below. Massive thanks to We the Punters over on Patreon. These are the punters that keep me making videos that I think are important rather than the ones that just get the clicks. If you want to support the show, I've just released Punters Politics t-shirts. If you believe in policy over party and you want to head over to punterspolitics.com, you can pre-order the t-shirts there. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Cheers, punts.